Hi, I'm Greg Yellen with Reynolds and Reynolds, and this is Connected. I'm excited about today's conversation. I have two guests joining me, Lou Ramirez and Fred Lennartz. These guys are a pretty amazing duo. They do a lot of things together. They're co-founders of Certified Solutionaries, and they also co-host the Car Guy Coffee podcast. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining me today.
What's going on, man? We appreciate you having us on the show today. Honored.
Yeah, very excited to be here. Appreciate this.
Yeah, no, thank you. So one thing, just before we dive in, you both served in the military. So first of all, thank you very much for your service. Appreciate that. And, everything that you guys do and everybody after you have done is pretty impressive. So thank you very much for that.
No problem. It was our honor. And, something great about being able to serve your country, much like how we get to serve dealers across the country now.
No, that's great. So let's talk about what you guys do. So we can start with maybe at a high level, just Certified Solutionaries. Obviously we'll get into the podcast, and I want to talk a lot about your backgrounds and things like that as well. But what are you doing day in and day out? Before we started recording, you mentioned obviously you're traveling to a bunch of stores coming up our way. So I wish I would have known. Maybe we could have got you in studio. But no, talk about kind of what you guys do at a high level, and then we can dig in from there.
I'll let Lou take that. Lou's, his heart and passion. I got to give a lot of credit to Lou and his fortitude and his game planning that he does for both of us. And when it comes to coming inside the stores of Certified Solutionaries. So break it down, Lou.
So basically on the dealership development side of things for Certified Solutionaries, we go into a store to figure out where it is that they want to grow to, where it is that they're at, and then figure out whatever the roadblocks are that are stopping them from actually achieving what they want. We turn our leaderships into our leadership people into navigators. So the managers, we call them navigators, as they're people that need to know where it is that they are, know their current numbers, and learn how to actually navigate to where it is that the mission is for the dealership, the mission is for each individual, and the mission is for the management as a team. So we help them to develop everything from the side of, what does our company culture really look like? What do some of our mantras sound like? How do we serve a customer? How do we celebrate a customer? What does our message look like inside of our advertising, all the way down to what does it look like to maintaining and keeping customers inside of our ecosystem? We teach so many different things on a different level, but it also is similar to our coffee flow. It's a custom cup for anybody that wants to sip it up. So we're not the ones that actually do the work. No different than your favorite barista is the one that goes and does your job for you, but they put something in your cup that gives you a little get up and go. And that's what we do on the Certified Solutionary side. When it comes to the podcast, Fred, take it away.
I appreciate you tossing that up. As you can see, we're very passionate about Certified Solutionaries, and that passion has been part of our 20 years of retail experience that we've had and that we've been blessed to be part of, and then Car Guy Coffee came from that. Car Guy Coffee, and short term, the name is actually from Lou's energy, right? I got to tell you, Lou's one of the most high energy guys you could ever be around. I'm so blessed to have him as a friend and a business partner, because it keeps me moving. It makes me have to keep up with something, right? And I absolutely love that about him. But the show, Car Guy Coffee, the name is really just the energy of what we are. When you're down and low, you just need a cup of coffee in most cases, but inside of a dealership, it's Car Guy Coffee. When you don't want to go out there and catch that up because you're too tired, what you need is a cup of Car Guy Coffee. I can keep going on with those types of sayings, right? But it's the truth. Inside you need to find that energy, that caffeinated culture, and really breathe that inside your store. Every day is different, man. It's a struggle. We are in a rejection business. 75% of the time on the average store, you're going to get told no. People are going to walk out your doors, right? So we have to be very open and very excited even when that happens, because even though they leave, they all buy. And we believe that 100%. Yeah. So we need to make sure that we build a culture of people understanding that we are okay with them leaving. As long as we've done our job, it's okay to leave. Please let us follow up with you. We want to see if your experience did end somewhere else or how we could have done better for you, right? So that being said, the show came about because we wanted to highlight those types of people. We wanted to highlight the greatness of automotive. Car Guy Coffee is a show not about Lou and Fred. It's about people like you. So many other in companies like Reynolds and Reynolds, and so many other great companies who've helped us as dealers and as anybody inside this industry be able to produce more and help more, right? And that's the idea. If we stop trying to sell cars and we start talking about solving transportation problems and helping people, You get more fulfilled and you have fun. And there's so many people who want to hear that. Our customers need to hear that. Our customers need to hear that we're not trying to sell them. We're trying to help them, right? They don't believe us anymore. I don't blame them. We left a trail of just turd out there, right? So our idea is to clean it up a little bit and highlight people like you and so many of the greats, the Glenn Lundys, and I can keep naming Adam Marburgers. I can keep going of the good guys out there who are actually doing it right and still actually doing better and producing more because they're doing it right. So that being said, that's what Car Guy Coffee really is. It's a show to highlight those people.
Yeah, we are on a quest to brew with the best.
Amen to that.
Biggest highlight is that we are people that want to revive a culture of people that are not percolating problems, but are actually brewing solutions.
That's right.
And that's probably our favorite thing, is that we get the chance to meet the best beans in the business, those that are truly grinding out the hard work and are actually okay to sit in the hot seat so that the greatness can get extracted for them. We absolutely love the podcast side of things, where we get to capture some of the glory and also some of the pain of some of the best people and best companies in the business.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so I want to dig into a few things. So first, and this is something that I'm very interested in, because I don't know, I have an ego. You guys probably have egos, right? And I'm always interested in, how do you get into a store, right? When you boil it down, you're going into a store to train people because presumably somebody else that's already hired to do that job inside the store, that's paid to do that job inside the store, isn't doing a good job, right? I mean, that, like, you're going in, you don't hire somebody to come in to help if you don't look in the mirror and say, man, we're just not good enough, or we lost something, or I don't know how to do this. So I guess the question I'm trying to get to is, if I am a sales manager, if I am a GM, if I am a dealer, how do I get over that ego hump to say, man, I need somebody else to come into the store? What lens do I need to look at my business through? Because that's hard to do.
It truly is. And that's a great question. Lou and I believe in one huge mantra. It's the biggest room in the world. I don't know. Do you know what the biggest room in the world is?
Tell me.
It's the room for improvement. And we all fit inside that room, right? There's not a person on this planet. If you're the greatest, you're actually trying even harder. You're the one who probably believes you have so much room for improvement. Think about the Kobe Bryants. Think about the Ali Ritas out there that are selling cars, the Frank Crinittis. They never settled on 50 cars, or they would have never hit the 100 and plus. They would have never hit the records, the world record, in the Guinness Book of World Record for most cars sold in a month, day, weekend, whatever, both most used cars ever sold, right? Those things don't happen unless we know there's room for improvement and we can get better. The person who said 50, that's the most we could sell, then somebody else did 60, right? We can keep going on about that kind of stuff. But we do believe the biggest room in the world is room for improvement. And we're not out there to tell people you suck. The thing that helps us the most is that we actually talk about what they're great at. Right. Yeah. Here's all your great stuff. It's no different than how you should hold any type of one-on-one. Is talk about all the good stuff first. If you come in with love and talk about what they're doing well, right, and really highlight that, and even maybe encourage them to show others how to do it, right? And then we talk about, hey, where do you see the most room for improvement, right? Let them be able to pick it. So we preach that a lot. So when we get a chance to speak to any dealer, whether we're at a conference, in person, on a call, we're not there to tell them what they're doing wrong. We're there to highlight what they could do more of, right? And that's kind of the thing. Like, they have all these amazing tools today. You could get with a company like Reynolds and really have everything you need from beginning to end of a deal, right? And have the best tools, but great tools don't matter if people aren't using them. They're not motivated to use them, right? Or know how to use them all the way, which is the scariest part, because they have it, they're even using it, but they're not really using it, right? And if they did, we'd see a bigger ROI on all that stuff, more opportunity, more money, the whole nine. So we really break it down. And then we get into, not only is there the biggest room is the room for improvement, but we also really get into the data there. We look at what they're actually dialing, how many contacts are actually making, how many of this. I can keep going through all kinds of different data levels when it comes to what they have. But we look at that, and numbers don't lie. And we just say, hey, what do you see here? And here's how we can help you. The one thing I got to say, and I'll end it with this, is that for all you leaders out there doing great things, you obviously are great at what you do. You know how to sell cars, right? We get that. The world has changed a lot. And since we sold cars, our salespeople do different activities and have to do different activities than we were ever taught how to do or ever trained how to do. So we're telling them to do things, and we feel weird, and we don't really hold them accountable because we didn't have to do them. Well, we got to change that. That mindset has to change, and you have to understand it's okay to go out and seek information and get educated on how to train on that. And a lot of us need that right now. So Lou and I are doing really our best to get out there to preach that. Hey, it's not about changing you selling cars. You know how to sell cars. It's about how to lead people in today's environment. It's a little bit different. It's quite a bit different if you really get down to it. So that's basically our biggest pitch. You know, when we get into it, we don't really pitch much, but when people ask, that's what we tell them.
Yeah.
And we don't necessarily advertise too much what it is that we will do for your store. We're more on the introduction side. So we're very much referral based. So somebody has to recommend us one way or another, or make that handshake, or somebody just reach out to us specifically to say, hey, we've been watching you. We see what you do. But the question always is what do you do? Right? What is it that you actually do for stores? But to answer the question on the side of a professional trying to figure out how they get developed, oftentimes they will get into a place of saying, man, there's more for us. I know that there's another level to this. And it's not just trying to pay attention to metrics or margin or who's doing the best in this brand or in this region. It's on the side of recognizing that professionals need to consistently be developed. Just as much as we're constantly upgrading our technology, we have to upgrade ourselves. We have to upgrade our thinking. We have to adapt to what's happening now. And inside of an ever evolving industry, one thing that has slowed is the growth inside of the way that we want to approach things. But then with COVID, it rapidly rushed forward. We quickly changed speeds with the customer, changed capabilities in what we can do to serve that customer. And then it also changed that the customer has access beyond the veil that we often kept them on the other side of. And with that comes a new approach to how we actually deal with the customer. No longer is it us hiding our cards, but us playing with the cards completely exposed to the customer and being people of integrity when it comes to working with them. We believe that there is a paradigm shift occurring inside of the industry where a lot of the weeds are getting weeded out and the customers are making that decision. Those people that aren't upfront with customers, those that are trying to backdoor a customer or cheat a customer doesn't have to deal with that anymore. But upgrade of a professional is something that we as an industry know is needed. We know that we have to constantly be cut on, and we would never want anybody to think that they're inferior because they're being upgraded, but you don't know what you don't know. People don't know what they like. They like what they know. And what has often been somewhat the Achilles heel to the industry is we did some things that worked and we never got away from them. Or we found a couple things that did work, we got away from them, and then we never completely adjusted or modified ourselves, and then it stopped working in that direction. Where instead of keeping a culture where we're constantly challenging ourselves, we're constantly trying to figure out how to get better at what it is that we do, even if we do it at a high level, even if we do it at an excellent level, we recognize that there is still more room to grow. There are corners that need to be swept, and in that biggest room in the world, though the car business is filled with know-it-alls, there is still more to know. And that's something that we want to keep challenging the industry with. But it takes people that are willing and humble enough to say, I need to learn more. I need to consistently be educated. Because in most case scenarios, a manager became a manager because they were great at being a salesperson. That doesn't mean that they know how to develop a salesperson. And quite often, the only communication that happens with our low threshold to get into this business is that a manager will say, when I was in your shoes, I did this. And when I was doing your job, I was doing it like this. And that is the quickest way to shut the switch off of anybody you're trying to lead. Because what they don't want to know is what you did when you were in their shoes. They want to see how fast they can run with your coaching in their own shoes. They want to see how it is that you can get them to the next level from your position as their coach as they run the ball, and not saying I did it like this when I was in your shoes. That's silly.
No, I mean, as a matter of fact, most coaches weren't the best running backs. Most coaches weren't the best quarterbacks, right? They just understood the game very well. And that's the key. And we have to understand you don't have to be the best at creating video content, right? You just have to be a great motivator and also an educator and actually a student too, because you need to learn. And when you learn and you're growing, you're happiest, man. And no matter what, at the end of the day, if you find somebody with a lot of ego and you run into that, it's not about telling them that they're wrong. You can never do that, even with people without ego. It's about loving on them and just showing them ways that make sense. Just no different than a customer who's telling you no. I believe that no customers really want to say no if you present them options. It's when you just give them one way. They don't, no, I'm not doing that. But if you're like, hey, would you prefer this or that? A lot of times they pick something. So
yeah. Yeah. A couple things there that I want to unpack a little bit, if you don't mind. So one is, as you were talking and describing things, it was really clear to me that the person matters, right? The individual matters. So we think about a store, and we're selling a product that, I mean, at the end of the day, when you really peel it back, we're going to sell whatever, call it 16 million cars across the U.S., 16 million new cars every year across the U.S. That, when you look at other products, that's not a huge number, right? It's really not. So you have 16 million people who are going to make a purchase of a defined set of products in the next 12 months. And they can make that purchase from, XYZ dealership or ABC dealership. They can make it either way. The product is the same. We're retailers, right? We're selling a product that's manufactured in bulk. So they can buy it at a bunch of different places. And there's a few factors that'll go into it. Obviously, the price will go into it. The availability will go into it. The convenience. Is it close to my house? Is it close to my work? Like, those things matter. But the thing that matters, I think, above all else, which I kind of drew out of what you were saying, is the person that they're working with to buy the car from, right? If they don't feel that they can trust that person, if they feel like that person is trying to get one over on them, if they feel like that person isn't communicating quickly enough with them, they'll go find somebody else to do it. And when I say somebody else, again, that's the person. It's not the store, right? Because at the store level, we have a lot of great operators out there, but it's that individual feet on the street, belly to belly salesperson that's going to make or break the deal.
Hey, that's fact. No, fact. There's no fiction to that. I mean, seriously, like, if you're not understanding that, what you just said there, that is right on the money. It just takes one, right? It's like that old saying, bad news spreads like wildfire. Good news, man, it takes forever to get that out there, right? You could be doing everything right, but you have that one salesperson who just falls on its face or constantly does and just lie to your customer. Now it's not you, it's the dealership. It's not the person, it's the dealership. Is that place, they just lie over there. They cheat you over there. And sometimes it's not even intentional. You got a rookie salesperson just saying what they think they're supposed to be saying, right? Trying to sound like that they know what they're doing. And there's no harm meant. It's just, I need to sell the car because that's my job, right? And, so that's a shame. And that does happen. That's why it's so important that we understand how building individual people's confidence and branding them, getting them to understand that they represent something bigger than just selling a car with with my shirt and tie on or my polo shirt on, whatever you're wearing that day, right? It's about letting people know that you are there to help them. You're not perfect. Show people who you are, what you do, right? But also at the end of the day that you're the one who wants to help them more than anyone. You're willing to jump through hoops for them, right? You're willing to do all these things. And the more that you can show that, the more confidence your customers are going to have. They are looking at social. Matter of fact, there's not a person on this planet right now, pretty much from the age of 10 and up, almost, if not younger, that doesn't have a phone in their hand and they're staring at it almost all day long, right? They're looking for instant gratification. Give them some of that. Don't sell all the time, but show who you are all the time. And the more that we can get our people to do that, they may even stumble through words, but customers are going to love them and know who they are, right? They're going to know it's not the only experience that they've had. They've had multiple by watching this person make them laugh, showing them with their customer at the end, smiling, them with their family on a vacation, right? All these things that we want to be able to brand and show off. It's not just, again, selling a car. It's about building a people, confidence, letting them become ingrained in the community. And the more we do that, the better that they're going to do and the better our dealerships are going to do. And you think about the ROI on that. It costs nothing for them to do great social media and encourage themselves to show themselves off or even interact with local community. It's just time, and if we do that and we show that, the ROI on that is massive. Even one car deal to me is worth it. That's how I look at it.
Right. And so it's relatable.
Go ahead, Lou.
So it's not about just the transaction, which is quite often where retail gets caught up. You may not remember the person that helped you purchase your jeans inside of the department store. You may not chase them down again to say, I need this guy to help me find my jeans, right? You may not run into that. But when it comes to something as expensive, as complex, and as somewhat custom to you as a car, you need a professional, right? I want to have my car guy on the mechanic side. I want to have my car guy on the acquiring a vehicle side. No different than I want to have my doctor that I trust and I can listen to what they say, even if it's not rhyming with the song I'm playing in my head. I want to be able to listen to them, pay attention to their advice, and trust that they want what's best for me. My attorney, I want to be able to listen to them, and I got to listen to them. Why? They know things I don't know, and I am paying them to help me achieve something that I can't necessarily do myself. And with that, that's the relationship that we encourage sales pros, managers, executive level leaders. They are building relationships. And that is where the true growth comes from. But that's also where community gets built. That's where trust gets built. Because with us and our people, I mean, we've worked in multiple stores as salespeople. And though we might put a whole bunch of Mitsubishis inside of somebody's driveway, but if we jumped over to a Kia store, all those Mitsus are getting traded out. Why? Because that's what we now represent, right? That's the product that we have. I still have you as my customer, and you're going to buy my product, but you're going to buy my product because you bought me already. And as cliche as it sounds to say the first thing people buy is you, that's absolutely the truth. We believe and we teach heavily that the biggest bonus that anybody gets out of purchasing a vehicle from your OEM, your dealership, or you and your team is you. They get you. And nobody should ever approach their day saying, man, I'm just not going to give my people the best experience. I just hope I get paid a lot. That person doesn't make it far, right? And they're not very fulfilled in what it is that they're actually accomplishing at the end of the day. At the end of the day, when they start having people that they truly build friendships with, they truly have their trust, and they can lead them down the road where they just pick up the phone and just say, hey, I need one of these. I'm trading that. Get it all ready for me. I'll see you when you get the paperwork ready. That's a relationship of a great professional with a client. But taking away that relationship, we go back into just doing retail. And that's very easy for a customer to just pick up and go anywhere and purchase from anywhere. We're trying to convince dealers that the best way to keep your customers is keep a good relationship with your people, keep your people in-house, and they'll continue harvesting good fruit, bringing back people again and again and again.
So what are some of the core, I guess, components, principles, ideas that you guys preach or believe to be absolutely necessary? So, and the reason I asked this, let me frame it up for you a little bit. So, thinking about the individual, the person buys from the individual. We talked about, I think, Fred, you were saying how, as a sales manager, that your salespeople need to do things that maybe you didn't have to do when you were selling cars, right? You might not be an expert at recording a video and putting it on YouTube. You might not be fill in the blank, right? There's these tasks that need to get done by a salesperson in today's world. At least somebody that's going to be uber successful. You see these patterns, right? So you have these tasks and these activities, but those tasks and activities are going to change over time. So we have to be competent in these things, but we have to be open to trying new things. There's an evolution that happens, but at the core of the business, there are certain pillars that we need to build those tasks around. So you mentioned trust. Lou, you said trust is really important. That I don't know anybody that would argue that that's not one of those pillars, right? So you have to build trust with your customer. What are the others? Are there 2, 3, 4, 5 that you guys see as, like, these are the absolute pillars that we build everything else around? We can go do these tasks, but those tasks have to be built around certain core values.
Oh yeah, definitely. We definitely have some core values.
Yeah, core values as solutionaries that, of course, we operate from. But at the end, if we were looking for somewhat of pillars, we have what we call the 3 C's with a little bit of a K in it, right? With a little special K. And the 3 C's are to create, to convert, and to close. And then we drop that K in there, keep. Ideally, we want to be able to create conversations, create content, create community, create a following, right? And keep our customers. We end up keeping our customers at the end if we give them something to be a part of. Converting them from what? Converting them from being a person that's just maybe looking at your brand, seeing your social media, liking some of the stuff that you have going on, and then converting eventually into from a looker to maybe a shopper to then somebody that's going along with our actual sales process, and they're converting into a buyer at the end of the day. Then, of course, closing them, but not closing them in the sense of making them do what they don't want to do. It's leading them to the end goal that they describe that they actually want to achieve. That's what a true professional at the end of the day should be actually doing. Where is it that you want to get to? I'll be your guide today. I'll get you to the end of the river. Follow me as I get you to where you say you want to go. With that, then there's the keep part. And this is where we often drop the ball, is we don't then keep our customer. We sign them up. We got our commission. We got that number on the board. We hit this goal and on to the next, rather than recognizing the next time that this person purchases a car, I don't want them to think of anybody else. I want it to almost like a marriage, where it's like my wedding ring. My wedding ring is not necessarily a no to the rest of the world, although it is. What it is a marking of a yes that I've made. Yes, I am part of the Car Guys Network. Yes, I am part of the Subprime Heroes Network. This is my family. This is my guy, which is the only reason why the Car Guy name ever came up, because in my group of friends and my community and my church area, I wanted to be known as the Car Guy. Why? I may not get under your hood and turn any wrenches. I don't build the cars, right? But if you have a question about it, I know plenty of people to help get you that answer, and I can make it seamless and easy for you. Just give me a call, let me know what you need, and we'll get it done. Just like we would want out of our landscapist, right? Just make the call, tell them what we want, and get it done. But we have those relationships that we want to keep cultivating. But ultimately, those pillars would be to create, to convert, to close, and then to keep them. And there's different elements in the way that we do that. And every store has its own flow of doing it. But we want to make sure that they do those things. And in that comes capturing content at the right time, capturing reviews at the right time, doing all of these different things that then create the community that we need to continue cultivating a customer relationship where they're stuck to us and because they want to be. Hope that answers your question a bit.
Yeah, for sure. So kind of thinking through that then, how do you get the entire store on board with this, or do you? So when you're working with somebody, because if I'm a salesperson, right, and I'm listening to this and I say, you know what, I want to work with these guys. Do you typically work with an individual, or do you get buy-in kind of dealer GM, GSM kind of through so that it's more of a dealership wide philosophy, right, and execution, or does it matter, right? Or is maybe at an individual level, am I just consuming more of your content that you're putting out, whether it's through the podcast or other mediums? I don't know. What's your perspective on that, and how much of the store do you need bought into what you guys are doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we definitely work on almost everything you just said. And why I say that is that every dealership's a snowflake. It's like no matter, even in the same auto group, you could walk in. I've been told by a guy who owns 28 stores, all my stores do it the same. I was like, no, in my head, I was like, no way, right? I go in, I understand they have principles that are similar, right? But you have different people in different markets and different this, different that, can keep going. Inventory, even different brands, right? It's all over the place. So I was like, okay. I like his confidence though, and I don't think he's wrong. But at the end of the day, what we do is we go in and we inspect, right? The first visit usually is a complete, we got to get to know you all. We believe in another philosophy. It's seek first to understand, then to be understood. We can never really help you until we know what you need help with. Like a lot of people are like, what are you going to come in and do? I'm like, get to know them. At the very first visit, that's 100%. Matter of fact, maybe the first couple visits might be, because you never really know. You go inside of a store and everybody's yes. The very first meeting we always come into, everybody's hands in, cheering. Yes, we know we could sell more cars. We can do this. We're great at motivation. You know, if there's anything that we know how to do, we could get your room pumped up, high fiving, wanting to jump out. Like they didn't even have any coffee yet, but they felt like they just drank a big pot of it, right? But it's how do we get them to keep doing it? How do we get them to be honest with us? And that's where we go around and we do a lot of one-on-one stuff. The first few meetings are going to be one-on-ones, you know, but at the end of the day, once we are spending a couple days with you, by the end of that, we can basically lay out a good game plan. Like, hey, look, you don't really need us here. You just need this virtual. You need this staff member to go get some training on this. We just advise. Now, if we believe that we can be integrated into your program, into your culture there, and really show you guys a way to be able to take it to the next level with our assistance, you know, a little bit more hands-on, we could set something up like that. That is a dealership buy-in moment then. That right there, you have to have everyone buy in. So we start on leadership. You know, we mentioned earlier the Navigator program. That is crucial. We usually intertwine that in. We used to kind of throw it as an add-on. Now we just do it. It's just one of those things that we've learned that if we stay with the management and it's their ideas of what needs to be trained on, it's their ideas of how we want to motivate, they're going to do more of it, right? Instead of our idea. Because to your point, ego is out there, right? To include ours, right? They go in there and they're like, sounds good, but that's not my idea. So I want to do it my way. And we've even heard from salespeople later, when we leave, the manager be like, I don't care what they said, do it this way. And that is, you as an owner or a general manager, I'd be very upset because I know I invested quite a bit of money with these guys, right? To have them come in and spend a few days to get my team rolling. And then we all agreed, and then you're going to tell them this. So, you know, we've learned to really work with the leadership there. So that's the key. I mean, honestly, if I was to say we could do all those things, but we have to have the leadership buy-in. Without the leadership buy-in, it'll never happen. The other stuff depends on the size of the staff and how well they're doing. You know, the biggest problem to great, the biggest enemy to great is good, right? And it's like, there's a lot of guys doing really good in stores, you know, and the problem with that is that they've been doing it with bad habits in a lot of cases, or not having to do certain things that we need them to do in today's market to continually grow. Right. So once we find that out, we get some people involved. We find one of those guys, and we actually do a lot of. That's where the one-on-one needs to come into play. You know, all that type of stuff. We really. It's literally everyone's different. Like, we have to go in and really figure out what they need, and then we draw it up for them. And it's like I said earlier, and what you said earlier, it's all that stuff. It's every bit of that has to be mixed in. And if we go in with just here's cookie cutter, it's never going to work. We might find a couple dealerships that like what we're talking about, but no one's going to really feel like it's for them. So we make sure that the actual custom package that we put together, it's no different than any barista you go to at Starbucks or any coffee spot. You can go in, you want whole milk, he wants almond milk, he wants, you know, all that stuff, right? Oat milk, whatever, right? No sugar, some sugar, whatever, right? Extra shot, no shots. We make sure that we hear all that before we pour you a cup of coffee. If that makes sense.
To address the entry point, yes, in most case scenarios, we enter in by way of an owner or general manager that sees the results from other stores, or just really wants to know more about what we're doing, whether they see us speaking at a convention, at a mastermind, or any of that stuff, and say, well, we want that energy, we want that at our store. We vet them to try to figure out what they're trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish, because ethics are very important to us. There is a lot of dark still out there in the business, and we're not trying to come and lend a hand to that, or lend our name to helping assist do any of that. Another entry point to us is we have a program called Green to Great. And this program is developed for simple fundamentals being given to a salesperson if they don't get it. You'll be surprised. Actually, you probably may not be surprised. How many dealers don't really do any training, right? They sell their cars mainly because the market has a demand. People got to buy their cars, and sometimes we just get in their way and happen to catch a commission because of it. But the intentional training usually would look like, hey, that guy knows what he's doing. Watch him for a little bit until you figure it out. Now go get him, Tiger. Well, for us as leaders, especially when beginning to manage the advertising budget and starting to realize how much it costs for each person to walk in the door, pick up the phone and call us, talk to us, enter a lead, all of that, when that started to become really, really valuable and we were understanding that, then it's, I don't want you just talking to my people yet. You're not ready. Nor do I want to take from my person who I can completely trust to speak to my customer and give it to somebody who I'm pretty sure may just fall on their face with this just because they're not ready. They're not confident yet. And they're not as exposed to the things they need to know. So the Green to Great program is designed to help give those fundamentals to salespeople. So salespeople can go in, go to our site, buy that for themselves, to upgrade themselves, be challenged with some techniques and things to do to build a presence in social media, to capitalize on the opportunities they have on the store. But when getting into a dealership, we give them all of that, because even some of your best dealers don't have a true onboarding process to determine whether or not this professional that we're taking out of whatever walk of life they came from and we're putting them in front of a customer representing a brand that we really clicked a couple buttons saying that we are certified on knowing about this car. But if we really had to do a walk around with it, not quite confident. If we really had to do a needs analysis, we're not quite ready for that yet. And because of that, you have people that are untrained in front of your customers, and marketing companies get blamed, right? BDC teams get blamed, right? All these different things start getting blamed for it not all working out, when at the end of the day, your professional isn't quite a professional yet at this. They're still somewhat amateur or barely at a novice level, and we tell them to go figure it out. That's how we learned. Pay attention to him, go figure it out. We'll clean up the mess later. Okay, but if we were trained like we were in the military, we were given strict instruction, inspected and inspected and inspected again to see if we knew it and we were proficient in it. Now we pass to the next threshold where we can actually be in front of people. We can actually have a weapon that has real rounds in it, right? It's the same thing with a sales pro. Too often we put them out there and they're not ready. And I think we get that honestly because we got that done to us. So we did the same thing to others and said, go figure it out, kid, go swim. If you sink, you sink. Where instead, the culture is shifting to where people are recognizing they need to invest in making sure their people are ready, their people are confident. And in the end, it's going to save so much more money because the cost of hiring and letting somebody go is astronomical. And we don't pay attention to it. We just keep the door turning, right? If the kid catches fire, awesome. If not, send them down the lane.
It's not even the cost. It's not even the money cost that's astronomical. It's what it does to your culture, and it really, and that's the worst part, and people don't even realize it because that's just normal rigmarole, right? It's just what we do. We come in, we put them out here. If they make sink or swim, that doesn't work. And that's the reason why navigating training is so important, because that's how they're training their sales staff. And that's because that's the way they got trained. And no different than me. I remember saying they should just do it because I did it that way. That's just not the right way of teaching people today. It's just not.
Yeah. No, it's great stuff, guys. I really appreciate all the back and forth in the conversation. Before we hop off, I want to ask a favor. So, and this, I don't know, this is going to be a really wide open aperture, but I want to know what your favorite story to tell is. So it could be, inside of our industry. It could be something from way back when. It could be something personal. But I feel like all of us have this kind of bag of stories, right? So you meet somebody new and you're hanging out. Maybe you're having a beer. Maybe you're having a cup of coffee. Maybe you're just, you kind of meet them at the gym and you're talking, whatever. Sometimes you click, sometimes you don't. But you guys are really good conversationalists. And I feel like we all have this kind of like, go-to bag of stories. It's like, oh, man, I got to tell you about this time X, Y, Z. So with that background, do you have a favorite story to tell?
Almost like our go-to karaoke song, something like that.
Yeah.
Right. It depends. It definitely depends on the situation. If we did an entire segment on our show when we first started kicking in, which was Car Guy Confession Sessions, right? Where we would confess different scenarios that would happen inside of our experience or our day-to-day. Fred has a great story when it comes to us talking about not skipping steps inside of the process, right? As we were early in the business, Fred definitely has different stories on that side. I have different stories on that side. More of my stories are on the side of keep selling cars. Sometimes you might be able to get away with being an idiot, like putting a golf club through a window right in front of your manager, wrecking the demo once we get the chance to have a demo. But the first story that we usually share with people is usually on that skipping steps. And Fred is definitely got the words on that story.
Yeah, it's a good one to show that everything matters, the details matter, right? And value. That's how you build value. And there's a story many years ago. I was on staffed events. Used to travel. I think this was in North Carolina. I had came over to Lou's team. I was usually a closer on another team. Lou was the closer on this team. I come over and I'm a bad man because I was a closer by doing all this stuff, right? So, but came over Lou. There was one of our good guys, the team leader named Mike Young. Shout out to Mike Young. We went over there. I was having a good sale and I was late night cutting up. They were wanting a Dodge Durango. And I remember being like, okay, cool. I'm fast doing everything. They qualified. I'm like, cool. We go out, we're looking at it. It's getting dark. They didn't seem like they wanted to drive it. So I did my features and benefits, did my walk around, but I didn't test drive. Right. So I was like, let's go to numbers. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. So I go inside. I go to the desk. I'm like, I need numbers on this Durango. Here's stock number. They write up the numbers. I go out. I go to close and they just won't shut. They're just like, nah. But you could tell they want it. But it's just like, yeah. So I'm like, I'm going to go get Lou. I'm going to go get Lou, have him come in, take a quick turn for me. I go up there.
I was nervous, right? I was nervous. Fred's a heck of a closer. You know what I mean? Again, one of the first people that started training me into the business was Fred. Go ahead.
Right. So I'm like, come on, Lou. And I'm thinking, he's going to go in, just say something similar to I said and shut. You've seen that close before, right? So he goes in and he's talking to him. And like within a minute, not even first couple sentences, Lou goes, so how to drive? And as soon as he did, I remember I perked it up. I was like, oh God, he caught me. Right. And the customers go, we didn't drive it. And Lou looks right up at me like this. Right. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And I knew it right then. Right. And that was the only thing missing in the whole puzzle. Like I had everything right. They love the car. They want the numbers were good. They weren't bad numbers. Right. All the above. Right. And it was just, they never drove it. So they didn't really, feel the wheel and seal the deal. So of course I go out really quick, take them for a quick test drive. And as we were walking in, they're like, we'll take it. It was that simple. I just needed to go test drive them. So the point to that is don't shortcut, because what shortcuts do is make it even longer. We end up being there even longer. I was in the back of the line to get into finance, all that type of stuff. So I should have not shortcutted it. I should have done my job. And to this day, from that day forward, yeah. And every time a salesperson's ever walked up to me when I'm sitting at a desk, did you test drive the car? Because that matters, right? And if they haven't and they won't, I usually 100% jump up and go take that turn for them because it matters. So that's one of our stories right there.
That's outstanding. I mean, that is a great story. It's a great example of just you got it. The steps are there for a reason because they work, right? Yeah. And there's nothing about that somebody can't replicate, but you just have to remember every time, no matter how big of a hurry you're in, somebody's got to do every single step, right? And even if it's a teamwork deal where it's like maybe you don't have time and you got to ask somebody else, but that step, every step matters. So I love that. I love that. Well, Lou, Fred, like I said, I really appreciate you guys' time. I hope you have some safe travels as you're traveling this week. You probably travel every week, but loved having you on. We'll have to do it again sometime soon. Before we hop off, anything we didn't touch on that we should? Anything you want to talk about that we didn't get to, or questions I should have asked that I didn't?
No, there's always one thing that we want everyone to know. We believe that the only time you're really happy is when you keep growing, right? It's the natural beast. If you're not growing, you're dying. You've heard that term before. But Lou's got the shirt on right there. We believe that if you drop these F-bombs, and these F-bombs are really amazing. We all drop F-bombs, right? But these are the ones that don't offend the moms, as Lou would always say. But we want to make sure everybody feels this, because in automotive, again, we're in rejection business. And a lot of times it may be your mistake, but you can't do anything about it. You got to forgive quickly. To you, the banks that said no, the customers that said my trade is worth 10 grand more and they're crazy, whatever it is, right? We have to forgive that, or we're going to hold on to that and not work the next deal, right? And that's huge. So we forgive, we focus, we fly in everything we do in life. So we love everyone to know. It's just what we like to show people, that you wipe off the weight of unforgiveness, you get focused, you reach out and fly and keep growing all the time. And if you do that, I promise you're going to do a lot better in life, and you're going to feel really good when you go to sleep every night.
Right. I love it. Well, gentlemen, thank you again. I really appreciate it, and look forward to connecting again sometime soon.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Good.
See ya. Well, huge thank you to Lou Ramirez and Fred Lennartz. Really appreciate them hopping on. Obviously, a lot of energy there. Great stories, great experience. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. Before we hop off, don't forget you can watch or listen to all episodes of Connected on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify podcasts. And make sure to hit subscribe so you're notified every other week when new episodes are released. Thanks so much, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.